What's going on, guys? Magdallan here. Arch Nemesis is 2 weeks old, so the league start portion of the experience, at least as far as I'm concerned, is over. People are starting to make their second builds, throwing large amounts of currency around. Build meta has kind of solidified. We're starting to understand what the good strategies are for farming currency, what the mapping strat is, what items from the bosses are desirable. All of that stuff has started to crystallize. And so I thought it was a good time to make another update video, let you guys know how the build is going now that I've got a few cool items that I've been able to acquire, as well as another level. We're 98 now, and I'm going to be moving on to grind up to 100. This is probably going to be my first ever level 100 character, and so that should tell you that I'm really enjoying the build. And so we'll go over what I'm doing in maps, what I'm doing to make sure I don't die, and yeah, we'll talk about all that, so stick around. Okay, let's take a look at the gear. I think the two biggest upgrades that I made are this ring, which replaced the pyre ring that I was wearing. I got this for 8C, so I was pretty happy about that. Frenzy charge generation on there, some life, good stuff. Nice cheap ring that'll keep us going until we have currency to buy something really good, maybe a curse on hit ring. But I don't know if final endgame we might want to replace the death rush. It's a very cheap item. I'm surprised that I haven't found anything else that was more desirable, but you just can't really pass up the chaos res, armor, life, and then onslaught. Yeah, too good. And then the big purchase that I made was the helmet. So we've got the pseudo 5 link now for our RF. So you've got burning damage and elemental damage on there, and then life and some burning damage. And I was lucky enough to get one that has minion gems on it, so there might be some shenanigans we can do later with this helmet, maybe with skitterbots and infernal, I don't remember what it's, infernal legion, infernal army, something like that. Anyway, we might mess around with that later. I believe when I did the last video I had this belt, and I did own this shield, but I don't know if I was using it. So I switched to this over the Rise of the Phoenix, even though I lose a couple max fire res. The addition of the armor, a little bit extra life, and the max lightning res, I think, is actually more desirable. And so I haven't really noticed any major drop off in my sustain, having lost that 2 fire res, so I'm going with it. It seems to work well. Another change I made was I dropped the life flask in favor of a phasing flask, and so we've got a pretty good setup now for our flasks. They're all, aside from this one, I believe this one as well. Yeah, we got a 5 and a 6, but they've all got the modifier that we want. So we're gaining charges when we're getting hit. Flasks are popping off. Feels really good. Let's open up a map, and we'll do that. We're running Polished Harby, Breach. I just like to throw sack frags in there, and then Rusted Sulfite. Breach is really fun on this character, especially at low level if you're just wanting to farm XP with, you know, level 83 mobs. Really fun. You can totally AFK. I'm essentially immune to the darkness. I can go into the chambers and just run around and steal all the loot, and the monsters just can't kill me. It's pretty fun. I imagine you will die eventually if you know, go too deep. But at least in terms of being able to go down there and get XP, it's very smooth, very easy. I also ran a lab with the new gear, just to see how that was and see if I could get super lucky on an enchant, which I did not. So here we're gonna just clear the map out. You see all the flasks are going off. The density is insane. I did change around my Atlas passive tree just a little bit because I found that things like Abyss are a pain in the ass to chase. I don't like it. And Breach gets a little bit rippy, particularly if you're not paying attention and then you get a Cheula Breach. I don't have a life flask, so I have good chaos res now. It's positive, but it's not enough to, you know, tank a tier 16 Cheula boss in a Breach when you're not paying attention. You'll take too much damage and die. I did go down once to that yesterday, I think. And so I did make that change. And then in place of that, we've got the shrines going, which is really fun. Makes it much safer. That's one of the ways I think that I've really gotten to where I'm confident in pursuing level 100. Is the shrines are basically, I feel like it's better than Inspired Learning, but not as good as Headhunter. So somewhere in between. And as you can see, the build just mows everything down. We don't have the crazy full screen clear of like an Elementalist or whatever, but that was not my goal this league. I did that last week. It was very fun. But now I am 100% invested in the slightly slower but safer playstyle. It has yielded me the best results in terms of fun per hour that I have ever experienced. I'm going all in on this character, so everything I make is going to go into this for probably the entire league, because I just don't think I'm going to make anything that's more fun, and if I was going to, I may as well just do it in Standard, where I have a mirror ready to be sold. And frankly, the league mechanic is pretty uninspiring, and I just don't... Most of the time, I don't feel like I'm missing much. It's just occasionally, if I look in the currency tab and I don't have very many exalts, then it's like, oh yeah, I should probably just do that tree ant recipe a couple times and hope for an exalt drop or whatever, but I don't feel like I'm having any trouble making currency. And I don't feel as though I want to make another build. I want to see what happens if I drop 200 exalt, 300 exalt into this character. And so I can still 100% endorse the build as being fun. It continues to scale. Every piece of gear that I put onto it makes it feel better. Yeah, I just can't say enough good about it. I did have a couple people ask me about the little explosions that I'm getting, and that they're not getting the same either size or radius, whatever. And the only thing I can think of there is I have taken all the AoE on the tree that I could get, aside from one little dangling node. And then I believe I still have... Yeah, I've got Area of Effect on the helmet as well. And then... Yeah, that's it. So, I'm not 100% sure if... It should just work with the... If you have the boots on, you should just get the little fire explosions. Maybe there's some other scaling thing, but it's, to my knowledge, that's not an MTX that I'm using. I took off all my MTX that I could the other day, and it looked the same. So that's the map. That's what the clear looks like. I would say that was like an 8 out of 10. One thing that happens pretty frequently that's really juicy and desirable is you'll get a bunch of altars, and they will all give you scarab bonuses, or the best one is the Ichor, the Eldritch currencies. And I've had maps where I get 15, 20 lesser, 5 or 10 greater, and 2 or 3 grand. So that's 70C, 80C for one map, and it just happens randomly. I'm not doing anything different. I'm not putting any scarabs in that are different or whatever. It just passively happens. It's obviously, it adds a bunch of nasty mods, but super fun. So here is my Atlas passive tree. I don't think I'm going to go through every node like I did before. I think what I'll do is wait a little bit longer until, at least until I hit 99, so that I know that this is the strategy that I'm going to use to get to 100. But the shrine nodes are really fun. I was avoiding them a little bit because they seemed overhyped and the build was clearing just fine, but it's pretty fun. And the packs that are around them are, you know, because if you take the nodes here, it adds packs to the shrines. And those seem much less likely to kill me, for example, than a super juiced up Chayula Breach. And so those points seemed well spent. I did go into Harbinger, as well as I moved some stuff around so that I could get this Scarab node. Other than that, though, it's pretty much the same deal I was using before, just no Abyss, no Breach. And yeah, that's basically where we're at. The next major gear upgrade, I think, is going to be another chest piece, because what we really want is basically what I have here, but with 10% for the enchant. Then we want 9 or 10% increased maximum life as just an explicit mod. And we want the item to be open for Eldritch implicits, because then we can get maximum fire res and maximum energy shield on the implicits. And I believe that will push us up closer to 8.7 to 8.9k effective HP and ES. And so I don't think that's going to be the biggest overall damage buff for the build. I think I would be better served to buy an amulet, search for maybe a slightly more powerful weapon, go for an offensive shield. But I'm not feeling as though I need more damage. And so I just think it would be kind of fun to have just this giant sack of HP and ES running around trashing tier 16 maps, making bank, buying cool items. That sounds like fun to me, at least for the next week or two. You know, we got 5x in the bank. The currency is coming in just fine. And I've decided I don't think I even want a Mage Blood or a Headhunter for this build, because why would you replace the Replica Soul Tether? It's a powerhouse. So yeah, that's where we're at. If you have any questions about the build, feel free to, shoot me a message in game, shoot me a comment down below, whatever. And I'll probably keep doing these. I like the accountability, I guess, of wanting to do an update video, because it keeps me motivated to do the stuff that is more goal-oriented in the game, even if that goal isn't explicitly economic. As I've said before, I'm not really trying to just make all the exalts per hour this week. That's not my goal. I want to see how much fun can I have and how much money do I make if I just do shit that I think is really fun. I want to see if that's an accessible way to play the game, or if it really is you need to just make the build that you're told to make by the biggest creators, and you need to do the meta strategy if you want to have access to those really cool items. Maybe not the Mage Bloods. We're not trying to go for that crazy of an item with this strat. I know I would have to change my approach if I wanted that item specifically. But can I just do whatever I want, and within 2-3 weeks, a month, can I have all the items that I really need for the build to kill everything in the game, and then spend the next month and maybe buy 1 or 2, super giga items? Let's find out. So that's what I'm going to do. And yeah, please hit that like and subscribe button, and I appreciate you.